Good morning, Tyler. Mr. Dirk.
Morning, Carmen.
How you doing, brother?
Super fantastic. Carmen, how are you, sir?
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you very much. You still down there in beautiful Arkansas?
Yes, sir.
Awesome, awesome. How's the family? Good?
Boys getting bigger every day.
Well, they've been so used to being without you for so long, and right now they're going to get so used to this.
Man, the only time I get a minute's rest by myself is when I come out to the car for the conference calls.
No, wow, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Oh, I'm loving it.
No doubt, no doubt. It's exciting. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning. How are you, Carmen?
I'm doing awesome, brother. I'm doing awesome. Great call yesterday, and got a lot of great compliments from it, so thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you to all. Most of them don't have my cell number.
Mr. Nasu.
Good morning.
Good morning. Have you done any research on Sweden's coronavirus and how they've been handling it?
I know they barely did a lockdown.
They didn't do a lockdown.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I haven't done a lot of research specifically on Sweden, but they seem to have figured out how to keep it pretty under control.
Yeah, well, they pretty well made everything voluntary and let people use their common sense. You know,
Yeah.
Who knows?
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of common sense out there. I mean, just look at Georgia.
Oh, you know, Georgia, just look at Canada.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. Good morning, Lisa.
Morning.
How are we?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing unbelievable. Thank you very much for asking.
Cool.
See who is and who isn't getting on the calls here this morning. Should be a fun day. It's a Friday.
Good morning, Carmen Glenn.
Well, good morning, Mr. Carter.
How you doing today, partner?
I'm doing absolutely awesome. Thank you for asking. How you doing?
Man, I'm great. You're on the hot seat today.
Apparently so. I was supposed to get a copy of the questions, but I guess that's not happening.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, they want to. Carmen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. David, Gary, how are you?
I'm good. I'm just driving down the highway.
Sounds like a great song.
I got my coffee. I got my Alcatraz coffee cup waiting for you today.
Okay. Well, we're just sitting here waiting for Miss April, but I'm not sure where she is.
Hey, if you hear the toilet flush, don't be offended.
Not at all. Actually, that would probably be me being in there. So.
Oh.
Good morning, Miss April. Where are you? Who else is all here? Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning.
How are we?
How are you?
Little birdie told me that you're thinking about working your way towards a dealership.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's exciting. It's exciting.
It is.
It's
I was
not that
wondering-
often that we have someone come to the marketing department. That's probably
Yeah,
the best way to come, too.
Yeah, I was wondering if any other marketers have opened.
To be honest with you, not in my recollection. Gary, you might know better.
I know. Well, Jason Nunley was a marketing director at one time.
Okay, there you go.
He's a dealer now. That's all
Hello.
I can think of off the top of my head.
Hi.
Good
Sorry,
morning.
it wasn't letting me log on.
You are now the co-host, April.
I got you. I just want to pull these up real quick. All right.
Morning, April.
Hi, Taylor. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Everybody ready for this craziness?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Should be some
Carmen,
fun.
I got a notepad and pen especially for you.
I hope a lot of people take the time to listen to the calls afterwards, because I know a lot of people are writing down 1,000 things and 1,000 ideas as they've been doing the calls over the last few weeks. So when you get some time, and because the recordings have been forwarded on to your dealers, get a copy of the calls again and listen to them again, because there might be some things you miss and some good stuff. Your show this morning, April.
All right. Hey, International Lifesavers, how is everybody doing? Hey, Carmen, are you going to mute everybody?
Yeah, well, I thought you had control, but if not,
Nope, I don't. You do.
we are all muted,
For me. There
and
we
now
go.
you were unmuted.
All right. So you guys, thank you guys for coming onto this call. This is a really rare treat, only because, let me just explain, Carmen, he really doesn't like the spotlight on him. I've been asking him for the last few weeks to let's interview you. It's really, really hard for him to take a compliment, and he's a very, very, very hard worker. You know, I don't even think you understand, Carmen, how many people look at you as their mentor. So anyways, but I like to start from the beginning. There's a lot of questions. So let's just start with your personal background. You grew up where?
I grew up in Montreal.
Okay. And who did you live with?
With my mom and dad and with 5 brothers.
Right. And you have 2 brothers in the business.
That's correct.
That's Bruce and Darren. And a couple people want to know, who do you like better? Don't answer that.
I love all 4 of my brothers the same.
And that's an inside joke. It's not really a joke. All right. And when did you meet Brenda?
I met Brenda in 1975.
And how old was she?
She was 14.
And how old were you?
I was 16.
Very good. And what did you name your first dealership?
BIS International.
And what did the BIS stand for?
Brenda Idana Shapiro.
So she was your love at first sight.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. All right. And then, all right, Sarah, I got your questions here. All right. And then you guys have how many kids?
2.
And what are their names?
Carmen and Candace.
And how old are they?
Carmen was born in 84, so he would be 36 or about 35 right now, 36 at the end of the year. And Candace was born in 86, so she's 34.
Okay. And how many grandkids do you have?
2 grandkids. Cole, who's 4, and Caleb, who's 1.5 years.
All right. And who is the most important in your life right now?
The most important?
Yeah. Is it your
You talking about
grandkids?
person?
Yeah.
Well, one important person in my life is my wife, because that was a decision. But after her, coming a very close second would be Cole and Caleb.
Absolutely. All right. And you got started in what products?
I started in vacuum cleaners in 1976.
Okay. And why did you have to, and you were only 17 years old?
Correct.
All right. And why did you have to start working?
I had the perfect life at that time. I had a motorcycle. Gasoline was 60 cents a gallon. It only took 1.5 gallons, and that would get me probably about 200 miles. It was a little of a 4-stroke, and I was unemployed. Worked 1 day a week at a placement agency, and that was enough to get me a case of beer, which is $3, and gasoline, and life was good. And then I happened to be borrowing my dad's car one night, taking a girl on a date, and I was backing up, and she was arguing with me, and so I wasn't paying attention, and I hit a car as I was backing up. And so I got out, and so I offered the guy $5 for the front lights that I had broken. He told me to go to hell, so I drove off. And about 3 months later, 2 or 3 months later, I came home one day, and my dad had that look on his face where he knows something I don't know.
Right.
And he had a smirk, and he said, "So how was McDonald's?" And I didn't know what he was talking about because it's been about 3 months, so I completely forgot about the accident. And I said, "It was pretty good, I guess." He goes, "Well, it must have been for $270. And he threw a small claims court judgment against me for $270, against him, because the car was in his name, and his name is identical to my name, including the middle name. And so I had to get a job to pay for the accident because not paying was not an option. So I went looking through the newspaper, and there was an ad that said $8 an hour full-time, $6 an hour part-time, call. And all it required was a car. And I knew I can borrow my dad's car. So my whole goal was $270. That's 2 weeks worth of work. And then I'm back to the good life.
So your
So that's how I
dad
started.
your dad let you borrow the car after you crashed the first one?
Trust me, the car didn't have a whole lot of value. In fact, the $270 is probably worth more than the car was.
All right. And who recruited you into OmniShield?
I was recruited by a gentleman by the name of Wayne Hosier out of Australia, who was a distributor for me when I was running New Zealand and Australia for VAX.
Okay. And how did he recruit you? Did he do it over the phone or?
No, he sent me an email and said, "Listen, there's this great opportunity, there's this great product, on and on and on." I said, I'm not interested. Wayne, I'm not interested. He goes, "Well, you just got to talk to these people." And I said, "Wayne, I'm not interested." And he kept on sending me the email. I had no idea what the product was. But finally, he just said, Carmen, it's selling smoke alarms, and that made me even less interested. I had just finished retiring. I just moved back to Canada from New Zealand. And so I said, not interested. And finally, he said, well, can you just do me a favor? And this is where referrals come in a big thing. He said, just do me a favor and give them a call. And so it took probably about 10 days between me calling Chris and Chris calling me back and me, David calling me once, and a lot of missed connections. But when we finally talked, they gave me the explanation a little bit about the way the organization was. And there was a couple of things that they said that, one of them was kind of like a multi-level marketing, but it wasn't. And I had nothing to do with MLM. Right. And I just said, listen, I'm just not interested. And after probably another 2 or 3 conversations, Chris finally said, listen, we'd like you to come down to Dallas to take a look at it. You're probably not going to do anything, but maybe you can give us some ideas. And I'm thinking, hey, free trip to Dallas, why not? Great idea. So I flew down to Dallas. All I seen was the airport and the hotel. We never did anything else, but it was great. I sat there in the meeting, and I went down there in my head with every objection I can possibly think of why I was not going to do this. So my only goal was to rule this out. I wanted to be able to say down the road, if someone said to me, Carmen, have you ever heard of OmniShield? Be able to say, yeah, I seen that, kicked tires once, wasn't interested. Right. So I sat there, I was quiet. There was probably about 20 guys from Australia there. Sal from Hawaii was there. Gary was there. Ray Jones was there. There was probably about 30 people in the room, but I pretty well kept to myself, but I made sure I sat right in the center, and they did the demo. And when David Carter was doing the demo, the way he was talking, it was like there was nobody else in the room. It was just me and him. Right. The more he did the demo, the more my objections just started fading away, to the point where when he finished the demo, at that very moment, I wanted to buy it. And I knew if I wanted to buy it, selling this is going to be really, really easy.
So you are the main objection of when somebody says, we're not buying anything, to don't listen, because you were thinking of all the objections before you saw it.
100%.
Absolutely.
I was already thinking ahead of getting back to the airport and getting back to Toronto.
Right. Okay. And that was in December of 18, correct?
November of 2017.
Oh, yes, 17. Then what did you do when you decided to make that decision?
Because then I came back and I sat down with my wife and we discussed it a little bit, because, at that point in time, there really wasn't much to discuss other than the fact that, hey, I'm really excited about this product. But there really wasn't a whole lot of other things to discuss at that point. So I talked with her about it, and she goes, well, you know what that means if you decide to do this. And I said, yeah, it's going to mean that you're going to get some peace and quiet, and I'm going to be traveling again. And then I talked to my 2 brothers, Darren and Bruce, and I discussed it with them. And I said, what do you guys think about all this? Because we've all traveled the same road for many, many years. And then we finally came up to the conclusion that, something, David Carter is doing another training class in Clarion, Pennsylvania. I got no clue where that is, but Google tells me it's a 5-hour drive. Why don't we go down and take a look at it? And then you guys can give me an opinion, because I love it, but I'm not sure. And so Darren, myself, and Bruce went down to Clarion, Pennsylvania, to John Kreese's office. Justin Wolbers was there. Jason Wolbers was there. David was there. There was a bunch of people there. Lisa from Michigan was there. And David did a demo, and he really started using committing questions on Bruce and Darren, which I actually sat back and kind of thought was kind of funny.
Right.
And as he was doing that, I can see them getting more excited. When you can get people who've been in direct sales for 30 years excited again, you got something. And from that, we left, we came back, we had a conversation. The following week, I sent Bruce back down to go out with John Kreese on some demos to actually see what was happening in the home while I was putting some other things together. And it still took probably about 2 months between myself and Chris and conversations about, okay, how do we start? Where do we start? What do we do? In every aspect. I mean, the only thing that I knew at that point, and that maybe they knew at that point, is, hey, we want to get something going in Canada. And I told them from the beginning, I don't know anybody anymore. I mean, everybody I knew, I've been gone for 20 years. They've gone on with their lives. So I'm not probably the right guy for the job, but I'll find you the right people, was the exact sentence that I said to them. And from that, I sat down with Bruce and we started putting a list of names of anybody we did know. And that's really how we started.
So most people don't understand that when you made that decision, you went to work. I mean, you started traveling countries, states, cities, how many demos do you think you did from November to March? of
It really
18?
started probably the first week in January, and from January to the end of March, I'd probably done about between 40 and 50 demos, from Kelowna to St. John's, New Brunswick to Michigan, to some of the, to a place in a small little town outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I mean, if someone told me that they were willing to take a look at it, they didn't want to get back in the business, they didn't want to do anything, but they were willing to take a look at it, I went there. And I just went there with the attitude that, hey, if I don't recruit them, I might sell them. So
You would drive
positive things
so you would drive 5 to 6 hours to go do a demo?
Oh, it was longer than that. The first demo place I really went to was St. John, New Brunswick. St. John, New Brunswick's about a maybe 15-hour drive from Toronto. So I did that, was the first one, didn't recruit that person, drove back, then I talked to Bruce. Me and Bruce drive from here to Houghton Lake to see Chris Putnam was our second call that we did. And Houghton Lake's probably 8 hours drive.
Right.
Chris was polite enough to sit there and watch the demo, but he really wasn't paying attention because he had so many other things happening, and I understood that. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. As we were getting ready to leave Chris's, you happened to call Chris. And so Chris said, happened to say to you, Bruce Glenn's here with his brother Carmen. You knew a little bit about Bruce. I knew nothing of you or Chris. And so he said, you should have Carmen show you the demo. So you gracefully allowed me to drop by your office and do a demo for you. You probably paid less attention than Chris because you were closing deals and getting people on demos. And, I think it was because of your grandfather was probably the only reason why you actually watched it, because he was in the fire business,
right,
in the fire department one time. And at the end of it, you said to me very simply, I don't want to join, but I do want to buy it. And I said, I'm not going to sell it to you unless you join. So, and that was it. So I left, but I knew there was something there. I knew there was a spark in your eyes. And so afterwards, I just sent you an email probably every week, called you once in a while, seeing how you're doing. I just knew that the day would come. The following week, I get a call from Tom Spears. And this is how things work out. Tom was at a meeting with Chris in another company. Chris just happened to say, hey, listen, do you know Bruce Glenn? And Tom goes, no, but I know Carmen a little bit. And Chris happened to hand him the number, and Tom called me, and that's when the whole role started happening.
So when safety advisors or anybody says, oh my gosh, this demo is 45 minutes away, do you chuckle a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because most people don't know how hard you worked, and you still would. If somebody called you today and said, hey, I think I'm interested, you would figure out a way to smuggle out of Canada right now and get there to do a demo for them.
I can guarantee you that a demo would be done, and somehow it would happen today. I can't guarantee it would be me, but somehow I would find a way to find someone who's definitely going to get in front of that person to do what has to be done.
So Brenda has to be kind of like going out of her mind, because now you've been home for the last few weeks. She's been used to you, being gone, right?
Absolutely.
What do you guys like to do together?
I love to cook. She loves to eat. So that works out real well. We love to take care of the grandkids together, and we do that as often as we possibly can. And we keep each other company. We watch a little bit of TV, but not really a whole lot. We've been together for 45, probably longer than that, 45 years. There's really not going to be a lot new happen yesterday or today that we're going to have a conversation about. So,
right.
We just enjoy each other's company.
There's so many questions regarding food with you. Most people don't understand that Carmen is a phenomenal cook. And he enjoys it. And the conversation of you can't have two women in the same kitchen, you can't have two people in the same kitchen with Carmen. But what is your favorite food to cook and to eat?
Probably my favorite food to cook is sushi. I love making sushi for my family because they absolutely love it.
Okay.
And probably my favorite food to eat is Korean. I absolutely love Korean. Love it.
Okay.
I love all things Korean. I like the spiciness with it. It's not too spicy, but the right amount of spicy. I love Korean. But I love all types of foods except for French food. I don't like French food.
And butter.
And because French food always has butter in it. It's got butter and everything. And I'm not a butter fan at all.
No, not at all. Okay.
That's how I ended up cooking.
Right.
I know if I did the cooking, I'd be able to eat what I wanted to eat. So.
Dear the Omni Shield on the units, on the hard units, which one is your favorite?
The bed shaker.
Why?
Because it's the one thing that I know that I can count on that's going to definitely wake me up. I mean, all the sirens, all those type of things. There's a good chance I'm probably going to wake up, but the bed shaker is so unique, and the way that it ties together with everything else. And I mean, at 3 o'clock in the morning, if the alarms are going off, I don't want to be woken up and fumbling around trying to find a button that I got to push on a wall somewhere or on a ceiling somewhere to silence them all to find out where the fire is. To be able to roll over and press that bed shaker next to my bed and then have know the point of origin, I think it's the most brilliant product we have.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. What is your why? Why do you do this? You don't need to.
My why started when I was 18 years old, 17 years old, 18 years old. I was dating my wife at that time. My wife's best friend started dating my uncle, who's the same age as I am, so it's not as bad as it sounds. And she lived across the street. And my wife's best friend's father detested any idea of that. So he came across the street and talked to my wife's, who I was just dating at the time, his father, and said, listen, Carmen's unemployed. He's a bum. He's this, he's this, he's this. You know, I don't want anything to do with him or his family with my daughter. And, you know, Mr. Heller was a relatively wealthy businessman. So, but unbeknownst to me, so I pull up in my motorcycle to pick up my girlfriend at the time, my wife, and there's my jacket with the friendship ring on top of it. And it kind of looked strange, so I picked it up. So I go up to the door and I'm ringing the doorbell and ringing the doorbell and finally the door opens and it's my wife who got full of tears in her eyes and says, listen, we have to break up. I never want to see you again. Please leave. And man, that just seemed so strange. And I'm trying to get an answer why, and I didn't get an answer why until a couple of days later when we happened to bump into each other at the mall at the food court, and she told me why. And that's the day that I said to myself, I'm going to make enough money to buy that guy's company and fire him. That was my why. The more you tell me I can't do something, the more I'm going to do it. But that was my why.
Did you fire your father-in-law?
It wasn't my father-in-law I was going to fire. I wanted to own the street across the house across the street, Mr. Heller's company, and fire him was my goal.
Did you fire him?
No, I didn't. But he did come to my wedding, and at my wedding, he told me that he always knew I was going to be great.
Oh my gosh! You're jumping on that bandwagon, huh?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
There was a lot of self-control at that moment.
Okay. Talking about Brenda, how important is it to keep your spouses happy about the business? I mean, you've been in direct sales for over 40 years through Filter Queen, different other vac companies, and now Global. And I mean, I know she loves the Global. I've talked to her personally about it. She loves the GHS people and, all that stuff. But, you had a bad day. How important is it that you just keep that in your car?
I think it's probably the most bad days and good days happen to everybody. And sometimes we let our emotions get the best of us. And so today I could very easily end up being in a disagreement, for example, with, let's say Chris Roberts. We have a conversation. For whatever reason, we don't see eye to eye, which is fine. Those things happen.
Right.
If I went to Brenda and said, man, that Chris is such a crazy guy. He's such an idiot. I could easily do that. And then tomorrow, me and Chris could have a conversation, and it could be the greatest conversation. And I could be sitting there going to Brenda saying, man, Chris is the greatest guy, man. He's so supportive. I love that guy. And Brenda would sit there and say, wait a minute. Yesterday you called him an asshole. Today you're saying he's a superstar. And that would be so confusing. So, I mean, unless she can help the situation or change the situation, I'll deal with it. And so I think it's probably one of the most important things. I think too often, familiarity breeds contempt. So too often husbands or wives dump on their spouse their problems because they want someone to listen. The spouse, because they love them, is going to do everything they can to try to help them, but they don't have the experience or the knowledge to do that. And I think it becomes a disaster. So that's my personal opinion.
Okay. Being in a fire, right? And dying in a fire is just tragic. I mean, there's two major things. People don't want to, be burned or, drowned, right?
Correct.
But having somebody be burned in a fire and surviving that, right? I mean, we have 3 hero gifts: the fire extinguisher, the fire blanket, and the burn kit. How important are those to you personally?
This is something that a lot of people don't know because it's not something I don't talk about. My brothers, none of us really talk about it. It's just something that we accepted. But my mother got into a car accident in a fire. This goes back 1977. And she got out of the car when the rear axle split, and instead of running around the front of the car, which would have made everything fine, she ran around the back of the car and slipped in the gasoline, and the whole thing went whoosh. And my brother Ronnie, who was probably about 500 feet away at that time, heard everybody say fire and turned around, and he had to run into the fire and get my mom out. Any one of those gifts, fire extinguisher, a burn blanket, a burn kit, would have made a big difference. My mother had close to 80% of her body burned, and she was in the hospital for probably about 2 years, but lived another 40 years with the scars.
Yeah. All right. Your mom, I think, is your why. I really do. I think she's your why, and your passion for everything else. And, I know your mom has passed away a few years ago, but when you and Bruce talk about her, I feel like I know her, and you guys were raised by one heck of a lady. That's for dang sure.
Oh, yeah.
But just for you guys to understand, his mom lived with those burns for 40 years, and she was still having the scars and the itching and the pain from it. So having the fire extinguisher to put that out, the fire blanket to go on her so his brother Ronnie didn't have to have those burns on him, plus the burn kit for the after. And I want you guys to remember that's the why we are doing what we are doing, is to prevent somebody from having that. But if by gosh, something like that happens, we have it for them. So remember that's your why. Now,
when we say sometimes the worst thing that can happen in a fire isn't dying.
Yeah.
It is. I watched my mom live 40 years with those scars, 40 years with close to 80% of her body burned. And her attitude was awesome. She walked around and did everything everybody else had. She would miss, so some of her fingers were missing. The scars, there was no skin grafting. It wasn't going to happen. But that's why it's so very important. And even though it didn't happen in a house fire, it made me understand that these things can happen in a house fire. And that's why it's so important for us to have early detection and be able to get out. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that. I know it was hard for you to, go there. You and Brenda have had such great success. And, we all know that you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth.
Yeah, okay.
Why don't you enlighten everybody actually, how you grew up?
It's different when you're kids. We grew up in the projects. When we grew up in a very, very, very small apartment, I never slept in my own bed until I moved out of my parents' house. So I wouldn't have known that. But at the time, when you're in the projects and you're a kid, the beautiful thing is every other family in the projects has a lot of kids. So there's a baseball game, a hockey game, a pickup game, anything you want to do, there's tons and tons around.
Right.
It's when you become a teenager, it starts getting a little harder because now you got a lot of grown kids in the home. But we lived in the projects and we were probably have stayed in the projects other than the fact that my father had a little bit of stroke of luck where he had a good job, but it paid just enough to keep 6 kids and the apartment, the bills paid. And when he went on vacation one year for his 2-week vacation, he decided to get a second job. So he got 2 paychecks at the same time for 2 weeks. And he was able to save almost $500, and it excited him so much that he decided to keep that second job for the next 18 years. So for 18 years, my father never took a single day off, never took a week off. He just designed it so that 7 days a week, 4 of those 7 days, he only worked 1 job. The other 3, he worked 2 jobs. And he did that for 18 years. But within a year and a half, he had the $10,000 saved to be able to put a down payment on a house. And we were able to move out to the suburbs. I was just getting ready to move out at that point myself. So it worked out. But yeah, we grew up with, I know what it's like to get a food bag, and I know what it's like to get a hamper at Christmas time and be looking forward to it because that was going to be it. I also knew what it's like to be sitting at home waiting for mom to come home with the groceries because if there's anything good in that bag, you better be here when she walks in the door because it's gone within 15 minutes. And the only thing left after that is Chef Boyardee in the can and beans. So.
Well, when your mom has 7 boys in the house, six boys and your dad, I can imagine, right?
Yeah, it was fun.
All right.
He was very creative with potatoes, very creative. So.
Chris Roberts wants to know who motivates you. Who's your motivator?
See, that to me is an easy one. And that I discovered that back in 1977. I discovered that when I first started doing demonstrations in people's homes, that I was always my most positive and I was always my most energetic when I was in front of people. And when I did sales meetings, I felt the same way. So I really learned that the people who motivate me the most are the dealers I work with in International Lifesavers, the safety advisors, my grandchildren. I do the exact opposite of most people. When I feel down or I feel a little depressed in that, most people have the tendency to retreat. They seem to go back because they don't want to share their problems with other people. And I do the opposite. When I don't feel quite as excited or motivated as I need to be, I go out and find someone to motivate. Because when I'm making somebody else smile, when I'm making somebody else positive, I just get that much more energy. So yeah, people motivate me. You know, this team motivates me. Brett Granger motivates me. April Ames. I mean, just calling people and talking to them. I don't think very often anybody's ever had me call them and pick up the phone and said, "Oh my God, Carmen, you sound rotten. What's wrong?" It's against my nature. I've never made any money doing it that way. Never felt good doing it that way. So people motivate me.
Talking about your dealers, there is a lot of questions regarding your dealers. All right.
Okay.
Who gives you the most headache?
I would honestly say there's probably very little headaches. You know,
Who gives you the most gray hair?
I would say, now if you were to ask me who makes me bald, that'd be a different question.
Okay. Who makes you bald?
Everybody does. Everybody does. No, listen, you know something I love, it's like having 30 children and say, who do you love the most? You know, I love them all the same amount, but I love them all for different reasons. And so, you know, there is nobody who gives, I don't have a problem. I'm a firm believer that if you have a toothache, either get it fixed or pull it. And so if there's someone out there giving me gray hair or it's a big problem for me, I'm either going to fix the problem or I'm going to pull it. So I don't have that problem.
So who's your favorite dealer? I got that from so many.
I'll give Brett Granger that title right now. He was #1 for the year last year.
There you have it. He picked his child. All right. All right. When a new dealer, because you've been a dealer, you've been a distributor, okay? You know, what is some of the qualities that you look for in a dealer, right? In a distributor, because you have dealers right now. I mean, we're so different. Different personalities, but we have that unique, that little rare thing that we all have in common. But what is it that Carmen Glenn looks for in a dealer in promoting somebody?
I'm looking for work habits and I'm looking for attitude. Everything else can be taught. But I can't teach you to be a hard worker. That your mom and dad did that long before you ever came up and I met you. I'm looking for work habits and I'm looking for attitude. If you're a hard worker and you can keep yourself positive no matter what the situation is, everything else can be taught to you. There's nothing that we do in the day of running a dealership that is difficult to learn. There's not a single thing I couldn't teach somebody in 15 minutes. I could teach you how to do an interview in 15 minutes. I could teach you how to do booking a demo, confirming a demo, running a stock room, doing a sales meeting. All that can be done so quickly. If you have those other two qualities, the rest is easy.
So I have this thing that I truly believe that it's 90% attitude and only 10% skill. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I see people all the day with 90% skill and 10% attitude and they struggle. I see people with what I see is absolutely no skill whatsoever, getting so successful. And it's because of the fact that they don't know any different. They got that bumblebee effect. You know, no one's told them that they're doing it wrong. And I'm not going to be the person because they're actually teaching me that, hey, there is other ways to skin this cat.
Brand new dealer goes out.
Yep.
What do you feel is the most important thing besides attitude that they can?
Personal demos.
Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing the difference in over the last few generations in people's attitudes. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, most people's attitudes were their desire for gain was so much stronger than their fear of loss because they had nothing to lose. And today I see a lot of people have more of a fear of loss than the desire for gain. But if you're willing to go out and do demos, I want you to think about this as a dealer. As a dealer, if you go out and do 2 protections a month, that's all, just 2 protections. All your bills and everything else is being done by your safety advisor, but you go out and personally do 2 protections. The profit you make for 1 protection would buy you a brand new Ferrari. Now, if I was to give you the keys to a brand new Ferrari and said, hey, you get to keep that car, you just got to make sure you get 1 protection every month yourself. Who would you be giving me the keys back? And the second protection, the profit from that, would buy you a $750,000 house. If I gave you the keys to a $750,000 house and said, you get to keep that house and live in there forever and own it, as long as you do one protection per month, who would be giving me the keys back? Nobody. So if you start actually getting your desire for gain so strong, you'll never have a fear of loss.
Okay. What in a dealer with a safety visor that's, I don't know, been with us for 30 days, not a brand new one, but like 30 days, 45 days, right?
Right.
What is it? What advice would you give them to start working with?
The dealer or the safety advisor?
Safety visor, I'm sorry.
Safety advisor, again, we're going to go back to trust in the process, but the safety advisor, if you really truly want to be successful and you want to grow within this business and just get really good at getting leads, marketing, get good at getting in-home leads, get good at instant sets, get good at referrals, get really good at that, and get really good at in-home recruiting. And everything else will take care of itself. It really is that simple. Get your demos is a given. I mean, for me to say, get really good at your demo, well, that's a given. You're only going to get really good at it by doing lots and lots of demos. You can study all you want. So yeah, get really good at the marketing. Get really good at getting leads.
All right. For this is for dealers and for safety advisors, right?
Okay.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that they make?
The biggest mistake I see for both dealers and safety advisors is believing they're not prepared. They're trying to make everything perfect. They're trying to make sure that all the lights are green before they leave the house. So they want to make sure their demo is perfect. I see that the mistakes that I've seen in the 2 years we've been in this company is I've been seeing dealerships slowly going through the motions because they want to make sure everything's perfect before they actually go all out. I see safety advisors saying, I'm not ready to do 4 demos or 3 demos a day. I want to make sure my demo is perfect first. I want to make sure my close is perfect first. No, you want to make sure there's perfect, then do a lot of demos. Get out there, get active, get going, get engaged, be part of it. Don't wait till it's perfect. Don't wait till everything's the way it's supposed to be because you're never going to get there if you don't start doing something. So the biggest mistakes are people are putting things off. I've had dealerships that I've tried to recruit where they'd sit there and say, Carmen, I want to be, man, I can see the potential. I want to be on board, but I want to make sure I know all this. I want to make sure this is right. I want to make sure everything's perfect. And you want to make it perfect, then get in here, learn the business while we're all doing it.
Okay. What if you were not in direct sales, what would you be doing?
If I didn't have that car accident, I can promise you that I would probably be a warehouse foreman for some factory somewhere, making $45,000 a year, getting by and complaining about life.
With everything that's going on right now, last night I was thinking about, there's people that have, hurricanes and they're down for months and months and months getting their organization back together. I mean, unless they want a rowboat. So how is this pandemic been a blessing?
This is the best thing that's ever happened to us. It's the best thing that's ever happened to International Lifesavers in a business sense. I've been not through this exact scenario as a pandemic, but I've been in this scenario 4 times in my career. And that's the thing. And each time things came out bigger and better. The first time is all of our lead programs that we were running back in the 70s was done through the post office. So we would mail out hundreds of flyers out, and then people would call us back and we would book demos. And then the post office in Canada went on strike. And we all sat there saying, oh my God, the sky is falling. Everything's falling apart. We're not going to be able to make it. What are we going to do? And then someone said, well, why don't we pick up the phone and call people directly? So we started calling and doing telemarketing, and we got bigger results, faster results, and better results so much faster. And then the next time we had a program called the 5 and 5 program. And the 5 and 5 program, April, is where I would pay you $5 for every demonstration you book for me, and I'm going to pay your friends $5 for watching the demonstration. So it was costing $10 per demo. This is back in the 70s when the whole profit on the product was only $100. And then all of a sudden the government came along and said, nope, you can't offer money for demonstrations anymore. And we all sat there saying, my God, what are we going to do? And we lost probably half of our organization because they couldn't figure it out. The other half figured out that we can get steak knives for $1.65. And we got more demos with the steak knives at $1.65. So we were actually saving $8.35 a demo, and our sales went crazy and then went up. Then we came along about 4 years after that with a power nozzle. And if you know anything, a power nozzle is a rug beater for carpets. Now we were selling the vacuum at that time, $400, and all of a sudden the company wanted us to sell a vacuum cleaner with this power nozzle for an extra $80. And we were getting all these objections at $400. How are we ever going to possibly sell it at $480? But you know something? And we lost again. Half the organization couldn't get their head around it. The other half, could you imagine buying a vacuum cleaner today without a power nozzle, without a power bar?
Mm-hmm.
So you got to get your head around it. So we've been talking for the last 2 years in International Lifesavers. We got to get this first responder program going. We got to get those instant set programs going. We got to get in-home recruiting and in-home referrals going. But we've been going at a very slow pace. We're going to come out of this better prepared. And I mean, maybe this is the Lord's work, but we're going to be put in a situation where we're going to get really, really good at that. And you're going to watch our sales are going to surge again. That's the...
How excited is it? How excited are you to watch people post on the International Lifesavers again? Saving protection. Oh my gosh, right? I'm so excited.
We are. It's perspective, and our perspective is right. And I know that everybody I talk to, their attitudes are right, and they're excited. They're waiting. They're hungry. So yeah, I'm excited.
So we got to look at this as a blessing. And I know, and in a couple of years, we're going to say, well, we survived the corona.
Yeah.
We're
going to have a conversation 2 years from now with a new safety advisor, and they're going to say, you used to actually do demos on the telephone marketing? You know, it's going to be like ancient history.
Right. All right. Hold on. Brandon Stout wants to know, if you had to have dinner with one person, present or past, who would it be?
Believe it or not, right now, the person I would probably want to have dinner with the most is Donald Trump.
My brother.
Yeah, and the reason for that, and it's a funny thing, there's a politician in New Zealand who used to be the Prime Minister there, John Key, but he said something so well. He goes, I don't know Donald Trump, I've talked to him a little bit, but I know two of his chief of staffs, the deputy chief of staff and the chief of staff. He goes, and they are really good people and very smart people. And for them to be around him, there must be a whole lot more going on than what we read or hear about through the news. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to see what makes him tick. So yeah, it would definitely be Donald Trump.
Good job. Also, this is from Brandon Stout. Elon Musk, Thomas Edison, Zig Ziglar, or Steve Jobs. You get to spend the day shadowing and learning from one of them. Who would you pick and why?
Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, because he was a visionary and he took no crap from anybody. And even though he was kicked down and kicked out of Apple and everything else like that, he kept on going. And so he had to reinvent himself many times with very little education. And he did all that and he kept on going. So yeah, it's definitely be Steve Jobs.
Okay. You're talking about Steve Jobs and Donald Trump, and they've surrounded themselves with really good key people. Okay. How important is it for dealers to have a good manager next to them, and one that you can develop, one that you can, have the same visions as you, right? I like to find people that have my weaknesses as their strengths, right? Like organization. But how important is it for you?
Well, I mean, everybody knows my motto is bigger is better and better is easier. And I believe that more than anything else, for me to be able to do the things that I want to do, for anybody on this call to be able to really do the things they want to do. The direct sales business, the OmniShield business, is to give you a better personal life in every way. And you're only going to have that time to be able to enjoy that if you've got good right-hand people. So I'm going to tell you probably my best saying that I've ever heard and I really love and I live by is, when you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, you proved that you're smarter than they are.
Absolutely. All right. Let's talk about like closing. What is your favorite price versus cost explanation?
Price versus cost. The only close you're going to have for that is, what they use all the time, which is, let's forget about the price. If you invest in this, what have you lost? If you don't invest in, what's it going to cost you? And that's really what it is. I believe, and everybody knows when I do my closing is all based around the fact that I believe the customer wants to buy it. I really do. When I finish my presentation, I cannot think of a single reason they don't want to buy it. So if I can't think of one, they're not going to think of one. I know they're going to give me price as their objection. They're going to give me price as their objection because that's a standard objection every person gives. The richest person in the world gives people that objection. When I went and bought my Corvette a few years ago, I sat there and I kept on saying, oh, it's too much money. It's too much money. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. When I finally got the price I want, I paid for it cash. So I believe that, you got to do price and cost based on making it difficult for people to buy, not making it easy for them to buy. So I'm going to go at a very high cost, and I can't think why a person wouldn't get full protection. I can't think why a person wouldn't invest $7,000 in their home. They talk about in the video, the marble and granite and all the other things that our people can see that, show some value. Cost and prices is all in your mind. It's a lot of money compared to a chocolate bar, but it's not a lot of money compared to a $750,000 house.
There you go. You've grown up in the projects. You had to hurry up and get food. I mean, most people don't know, some of the stuff that you grew up having to do, not having, but you just knew that it was important, right?
Yeah.
You had to get into this business because you got into a car accident, which was like a blessing in total disguise, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is not home life, not marrying Brenda, not your kids, not your grandkids, but on a business level, through your career, through your direct sales career, what do you think your biggest achievement has been so far?
There's a lot of achievement, but I'm going to say probably assembling this group, the International Lifesavers, and winning the belt last year and the area directors for the year when having the conversation with Gary and with Chris in December, saying, Carmen, you've done a great job, an amazing job, but there's no chance your guys are going to win it, but there's nothing to be ashamed about that. And I know to a certain degree that they were trying to egg me and motivate me and push me on, but I also know there was a certain amount of truth or they thought there was a certain amount of truth in what they're saying, because at that time we were like 4,000 units behind, and then, but not only did we beat them, we absolutely smashed. So that's probably, that moment.
Right. If it weren't for the blessing in disguise, the coronavirus, would we have taken it this year?
I think we're on track. I think I know for a fact that we were going to break 6,000 units in March. We were at almost 2,600 units on the 10th day, and and most of the guys were just getting ready to start ordering because they were just they're putting it towards the second half of the month. So yeah, I know we would have broken 6,000. My goal was 7,700 because me and Chris had a conversation a few months ago, and I said, "What's the most a region ever done in the month?" And he said, "I think it was 7,787 or something like that." So that was my goal. I know that Brett's goal this month was to break 2,250 because that was the most that a dealership had ever done in the month, that according to what we'd gotten at that point. So yeah, I definitely, I know we would have broken 10,000 because I know that Gary wasn't going to let us, if we did beat us by that much. So yeah, I think we would have probably smashed 11,000, maybe even 12.
Wow. Gary Robinson wants to know, when are we going to hit 10,000 in a month? So for everybody that doesn't understand, or that is new, we used to belong to Team Eagle. And then last year we broke apart from them. All right. We broke apart from them and we became, Team Eagle, Team International Lifesavers, right? And you guys just rest assured you're on the best team possible. No offense, Gary. I love Gary. All right. But we had a goal in August of 18 when we all went down to Texas that we were going to break 10,000 units together, even though Carmen, took his team and went away. When are we doing that? Because it was supposed to be this past March, and now we woulda, shoulda, coulda. What ifs? If we would have hit it, I think we would have. I think we would have smashed, Team Eagle. But I mean, we have a whole nother year to ramp up. But as a team, as a whole, when are we doing it?
I feel completely comfortable and confident in saying next March, but I really believe we have a chance of doing it depending on when we get out of it. If we can get out of this by June 1st, I believe we have a really good chance of doing this in October. Yeah. I think we can do it in October. I think that everybody's hungry. I think everybody's going to be motivated and have every reason in the world to give it everything they got.
Right. I think October has 5 full weeks. It's a great month. So Gary, there is your answer. We're hitting it in October of 2020, of the Corona year, right? All right. Wondering minds would like to know if hold on one second. All right. Okay. I can't ask that, Brett. Okay. Brett's being silly. Brett is being silly.
Brett's being Brett.
Brett is being Brett. He's your favorite. So there you go. All right. What do you look for, all right, when you're promoting people up? I mean, right now you're in a position where you are, looking at getting the team bigger and you need some key people. And this question is not from me. It's actually from 3 different people. All right. What do you look for?
I'm looking for people who can handle honesty, which I think is very, very important and in a positive way, because we're all learning and as we're learning, we're going to make mistakes. And when we make mistakes, we need to be, the higher up you go, the more those mistakes can be costly. So you've got to be called out on it. So when you get called out on your mistakes, you've got to be able to take it with a positive attitude and say, hey, thank you for that. Thank you for the criticism. And I'll take that on board, not be sensitive to it. I'm looking for people who are willing to put the work habits in that need to be done in. Probably more than anything else, I'm looking for people who have an attitude of I'll show you rather than do as I say, not as I do. So I'm looking for those type of things, and I'm looking for people who are team players.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris Roberts says it best. You got to be coachable, but to be a great leader, you also got to be a great follower. And so those are the things that I'm looking for.
Let's just assume that we all go back June 1st. We can hit the floor running June 1st between all the states, all the countries, that sort of thing, June 1st. Yep. What is Glenn's goal for International Lifesavers starting June 1st?
Get everybody active. Get them active. Get them engaged. Get them doing demos. Get them getting marketing. Get them recruiting. Get them training. Get them doing all the things. Get them so busy that they've completely forgotten that they even had this time off. They should definitely be rested. But when you're busy, positive things happen.
Right.
So
there's some people that have been staying at home and they're kind of woe is me, or maybe that was a lot of time I invested with that company and I'll probably never be able to be. I mean, I truly believe what you think you can and can't, you're right. Mm-hmm. So for people that are saying to themselves, maybe I shouldn't go back, maybe I should just go work at a gas station or whatnot, what advice would you give them right now to say don't think about those kind of negative things?
I want them to realize, probably more than anything else, that leaving is a choice, but don't quit on yourself. If you quit on OmniShield, you're not quitting OmniShield. You're quitting on yourself. You're quitting on your goals. You're quitting on your dreams. You're quitting on all of the aspirations that you believe. You're quitting on the people who believe in you. So again, at the end of the day, it's a choice that people have to make. I think that in every scenario, even if we didn't have this pandemic, we lose good people sometimes because they give up on themselves. But anytime you see somebody who's negative, anytime you see somebody who has an attitude of, well, I don't really want to be successful, I don't really want to be rich, you're seeing somebody who had a goal at some time in their history squashed, and to the point where they don't want that feeling anymore. They don't want to feel that hurt of not achieving something, so they don't want to get their hopes up again. And I just think that, hey, listen, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. For the people out there that, don't understand, in your years of direct sales, how many times has it crossed your mind to leave?
I'd say probably daily or weekly or monthly at least.
I think it happens with everybody,
Oh, listen, I've had some of the greatest days of my life and still had a moment where a stupid idea would flash up to my head and I just, say, what are you thinking?
Right. We have that reflex time to say, wait, yeah. I don't think that's a good thing. All right. You had to choose one motivational book. Or, what, that's really hard because I know you like motivational books. Top 5 motivational books.
But most of them are books that most people haven't had or even know about. One of them I absolutely love is called Kingdomality. And it's just basically about a kingdom and everybody has a place. As the saying goes, it takes a village. Well, it takes a kingdom and everybody has a place, and it kind of points you in the direction of what personality you are. The book I mentioned on here, Gung Ho, absolutely love Gung Ho. The one that Joe Aller sent me that really made me reflect is Leadership and Self-Deception.
Yep.
That really made me think of the perception and how we look at it. I mean, there's people in this call right now, there's people going through this pandemic who are so excited about the opportunities that this pandemic is creating
Yeah.
That they're just waiting for it to take advantage of it when it's over. And there's people who are looking at this pandemic with the perception of the disasters that it's creating and all the problems in their life that it's going to create. And they're actually regretting it being over because then they're going to have to face reality. It's all about perception. So there's definitely that one. There's a book called Fish Tales that most people probably haven't heard of, but it's also a great book on selling. And then the one that I'm reading right now, which is probably the greatest book that I've ever read about being great at everything you do. And that's The Leader with No Title. It is absolutely amazing. It's just about being the best you can at everything, whether you've got the title or not. Being the best hockey player, whether you're the captain of the team or just a regular player in the back. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Okay.
So,
you've had some time. I could never imagine you binge watching things. You're just busy. But what has been some of your favorite motivational movies?
my favorite motivational movie is a movie called Breaking Away. And it's back from the 70s or early 80s. And so it's about a small town and it's people reinventing themselves, trying to be something they weren't. And then they finally actually find themselves and be what they really are, succeeding. So Breaking Away is probably one of my best. Rudy, absolutely love Rudy. The message, again, I said the other day in Rudy is, how important was that groundskeeper being there, saying the right thing when he was ready to quit. And every one of us have that moment where we can change someone else's life by saying the right thing. Do we choose to say the right thing? Do we choose to be there? Do we choose to be accessible? It's important. So, and then there's thousands and thousands of other ones, but those are ones that really go to me. I'll tell you probably one that I think it's called Heartbreak Ridge. Not Heartbreak Ridge. I just finished watching it. I can't remember it, but it's another movie that I absolutely love. So yeah, there's tons.
Okay. Who's your favorite superhero? Now, for everybody that doesn't understand, Carmen has like posters of superheroes in his house. So, but you got to pick one.
And it's a no-brainer. It's one that I've quoted many times, and it's Spider-Man. He always does the right thing when there's every reason in the world not to. When his life would be so much easier just walking away, when his life would be so much, he doesn't get any recognition for it, he doesn't get any pay for it. Even when he does the right things and save people's lives, they're still pissed off at him and still mad at him, and he still keeps doing it, and he keeps doing it. So he's not doing it for recognition, he's not doing it for gratitude or anything, he's doing it because it's the right thing.
Carmen, you are like Spider-Man.
Yeah, okay.
You are. This has been a really fun interview, and I know that just the messages I'm getting from people right now is just to get to know one of their mentors. How does it feel to have that kind of power or pressure, or just, some of these people have only met you one time, but through these calls, through these interviews, just getting to know you. And when you talk, even on these, it feels like you're talking right to us, right to that one person. All right. But how does that make you feel? Now, this is a hard question for you because you're very humble. You're too humble.
It's a nice feeling to have people care, and it's a nice feeling to know that you can make a difference with everybody and with anybody for that matter. But I've never looked at myself as being a mentor. I do look at myself sometimes as being a leader because I do know that my actions do affect how other people are going to do things. Sure. I do take my responsibility to try to keep people focused and positive very seriously because I've seen too many downsides to people who've allowed themselves to wallow. So I won't let people wallow. So I will put the extra effort in. I will take the time to text people or call people, but not for gratitude and not because I'm the mentor or anything, just because I think that's what needs to be done. And I believe that if I can send someone, I've had it happen so many times in my career where people have said, Carmen, I was really having a bad day and all of a sudden I got one of your texts and it just made me smile and what did it take me? 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. So, there's a movie I watched last night and I can't remember exactly how it went, but it just said, be nice to people, be good to other people. And it was, the movie was called Wishman. And that's what, anytime you can be nice to people, you should be nice to people. And so if you can make a difference with that very little effort, then what could you do with a little bit of effort? So I don't consider it as a mentorship. I just consider it as something I enjoy doing. And again, it motivates me. You know, when I send a text out and I get a text back saying, hey, Carmen, thanks for the text. And yeah, I hope you're having a great day too. That motivates me.
Being the International Lifesavers, I mean, and I say we just because, you know, we are a team, but taking GHS by storm, and they are like the best kept secret. But Carmen, in the direct sales industry, I want to tell you that you are the best kept secret. I can't believe it took me, I mean, I've been doing this for 17 years, and, you know, Carmen Glenn, I mean, if you would have been in my life 17 years ago, I'm just really, really blessed to have you in the last 2 years, right? Because you've gotten me out of those dark days. I mean, I was ready to fold up. I'm not doing this. I'm going to go back to Vax, you know, and you just had that one conversation. It was just that one conversation. And I think that is your superhero power. You can have that one conversation with people and it just changes everything. And you know, it's not a long drawn out conversation. It's really like, you're either going to shit or get off the pot. So while we conclude everything, what is some piece of advice that you want to give to everybody that's on this call? I mean, we have the president of the company on the call. We have, you know, Gary Robinson. We have David Carter, down to our safety advisors that are some of the most important things. What is some things that you would want to tell them to persevere, to keep going?
Probably a few things, but I'll try to keep it real short and sweet. Number one, you know, set your goals. Obviously, we all know about those type of things, but don't be scared to dream. Dream a little bit. No matter what your goals are for the next year, make yourself another goal that if everything went perfect, what would your goal look like? Because it doesn't cost anything to dream. We are in business for ourselves, but we're not in business by ourselves. And that's the beautiful thing about this. And I think that's the reason why everybody asks, how did the Lifesavers do what we've done? Our goal this year, Chris Roberts asked me last year, what are you going to do for 2019? I said, we'll do 40,000 units. Well, we came in around 37,000 units. And I think if we would have finished March, we would have hit our 40,000 units. We're going to hit our goal next year is 75,000 units. Now, we're going to need a lot of things to go right to have that happen. But get excited and realize that we're all in this together. And the reason why the Lifesavers grew so much is because everybody does help each other. And so you know, don't think that having a bad day is the worst thing that can happen. But doing nothing about it, not contacting somebody, not talking to somebody, retreating in is what makes it worse. So the only thing I can tell you is that we're going to keep doing what we do. We're going to keep having fun with what we're having. We will come out of this. And when we come out of this, we will be so much better because we are going to have to face our own fears and get better at what we already are good at. And that's only a good thing. So embrace this time alone with your families. Embrace this time as the opportunity to educate yourself, to motivate yourself. Take the time to congratulate yourself. As you do these things, when you finish a book, congratulate yourself. When you finish watching a movie, congratulate yourself. And just get ready and get your mental toughness and get your mental attitude where you need it to be. And then you will actually be one of those people who are excited about this being over because you'll be able to take advantage of the opportunities.
That's awesome. I put up a contest for questions. So I'm going to put them in like all the people that submitted questions, which there's a lot. And I'm going to do a live video later. I'll put it on the International Who Wins Dinner on me with you once all this is done. Are you excited?
Absolutely.
All right. Is there any, so for Monday,
Yes.
we're going to be
Starting Monday, we're going to be doing daily training calls. We're going to be doing it for the safety advisors, dealers definitely, and the managers also. What we did was we took probably what I thought was the very best training I had ever seen done by David Carter in Flint, Michigan last year about a lot of little things. You guys have heard him say things like repeat and all that type of stuff. And Brandon Stout managed to record it all. Now, the video wasn't exactly where it needed to be, but we managed to get the video separated from the audio. So we had broken it down to 20-minute segments. So Monday, we're going to have a 22-minute segment for everybody to be on the same time, 11 o'clock. And then we're going to follow it up with a contest, but we're going to be using the Kahoot app. So I'll explain to everybody on Monday. So please make sure you download onto your phones the Kahoot, K-A-H-O-O-T app. And we're going to have a contest running that way. And it's really going to be a lot of fun because it's not about answering the questions correctly. It's about answering the questions quick enough. and the person who has the most amount of points at the end is going to win. So that's what we're going to be doing on Monday. Before you go on, April, I'm going to talk about today's contest.
Well,
Today's contest.
Hold on real quick. Sometimes the prize of winning is the pride of it. And before we go, Carmen, I mean, honestly, with the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you so much for doing this and, you know, getting to know the leadership that you have. And I would only hope to be able to emulate, you know, some of the stuff that you know, have done. And now that we know your why and your reason and your passion, we're going to be that much stronger.
Well,
and Sue, Jenna, go ahead. She has a question. You got to unmute yourself, Sue.
Oh, no, I don't.
Oh, okay. You raised your hand. Okay.
I
Never mind.
clapped.
Sorry. Okay. All right, Carmen, go ahead with today's.
So today's contest is going to be the Goal Getter Goal Planner. Okay, it's got your, you know, it has for daily planning for a year. It's got your top 3 tasks, your to-do list, motivational quotes. I'm going to be giving 3 of them away today. The 4 questions, very easy questions, so it should be simple. Derek Keene's 2 favorite books. Who Moved My Cheese was one of them. What is the other book? Question number 2. What is Paige Schmidt's favorite part of the demo? What is Paige Schmidt's favorite part of the demo? Number 3. Gary Robinson, why is it so important to manage by the numbers? He gave 2 reasons. Why is it so important to manage by the numbers? He gave 2 reasons. What are they? And number 4, what did Gary Robinson say was the easiest part of direct sales for him? What did Gary Robinson say was the easiest part of direct sales for him? 3 journals being given out. April?
Carmen, thank you so much. Truly, you are my heart. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you for your time and all the best.